The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Kachmann Mind, Body, Spirit Show. You're going to find this, I think, very interesting. You know, my previous show, which is now on YouTube, you can just go to YouTube, Rudy Kachmann, Cow's Milk, and I looked at it again this other day. It's about milk, and this is about milk also. But it's based largely on another book, which you see up here, Go Dairy Free. And I really, this is what I want you to do because of the medical conditions that you can avoid. I drink coffee and water in the morning. I don't drink milk, but I want to teach you the science of it. So it would be nice, so if you would look at our previous show, which already is on YouTube, the Allen County Public Library here, my friend Eugene, who does a filming for me here, he had it within an hour. It was on YouTube. How lucky that I am. Okay, so let's go on. And so how to go dairy free. But this previous book that I spoke about, Whitewash by Joe Kachmann. Remember, I held up this book for you. I want you to read that, or at least look at the PDF. You can go to the library and get it free. You can go online, and they're asking you for $20 new. But I've learned one thing about Amazon and books. You can look underneath, and they have used copies. They come maybe a week later, but they're maybe $3, $4. Yeah, that's a secret I want you to know. They don't do that for every book, but they do that for another book. The book this time we'll be speaking a lot about, and not totally, but Go Dairy Free by Lisa Fleming. I hold it up again, the same story, that you can get this at the library for free. You can go to Amazon Books and buy it for about $20. You can get used copies. I meant to check what the used copies are, but the $3, $4 come a week later. I'd like you to have a copy so you can have your kids and other family members double check what you just said. If you had these two books, you're going to save a lot of illness in your family and in your friends. It's an excellent book, and I'll be referring a lot to it and quoting it a lot. Also, they have PDF copies. If you like looking at PDFs, they're even cheaper. So let's get on the road. Okay, how to go dairy free. And what I'm trying to teach you is how to avoid milk allergies. That's a common one. A lot of them aren't immediate. You don't drink the milk and the reaction is right there. Many times the reaction is days later, and they don't even know that it's milk. How to avoid lactose intolerance. A lot of people don't tolerate milk, and it takes a while for the milk to get through the ileum and for it to react. And how to and not have a reaction to the casein. That's the protein in whey that's in milk. You can have allergic reactions to them. They can be the cause of cancers and rashes. And so also you could look at her website, which is a very good one. GoDairyFree.org is a website that belongs to Lisa Fleming. She wrote this great book called Go Dairy Free. I highly recommend you get it, the PDF from the library, a used copy, a new copy, however you can get it, and then refer to it or read it when you have time. You will know a lot more probably than your doctor. And milk is a very common cause of allergies. People are reacted to it. I'll tell you my story. My dad had a delicatessen in New York, and I used to drink a lot of milk every day. My mother would have a table, and I would drink milk. And I had developed acne. I didn't know milk was causing it. And I had pustules on my lips, on my eye, on my cheek, everywhere. Girls wouldn't even kiss me, and I was a teenager. That's a true story, and I don't blame them. Little pustules all over the face. Milk, I didn't know milk did that. Okay, neither did my parents. So I tell you, another one. I did some yoga activity. I like to exercise. And the yoga instructor was telling me, this was a number of years ago, that her kids had ear infections all the time. And I had been reading these books at that many years ago, especially the whitewash one I'd read many years ago. And I said, you know, want you to do the drink a lot of milk? She said, yes. They stopped drinking milk. Guess what? This horrible condition of constant ear infections in my 3 children of my yoga instructor totally went away. Totally went away. And she says, I can't believe it, doctor. It took about 3-4 days, and my kids were well. They had gastrointestinal upset. They had ear infections. Yes. And so you can have other symptoms from milk, gastrointestinal symptoms. You can have narcolepsy, where in the daytime you're doing routine things, and you know, and maybe you're sitting watching television, you fall asleep. That's narcolepsy. That can be a reaction to milk, and it can weaken our immune system. You can have difficulty breathing, where you have shortness of breath. And no idea why it's happening. So trusted physicians would say dairy reactions don't cause weakness to your bones. They would tell you that. But if one thing could change, that would resolve a lot of the symptoms. But the reactions to dairy can be 3 days later. They can be a week or 2 later. And so you don't know that it was drinking dairy did it. It's confusing, but you have to have the knowledge, and that's what I'm providing for you. So what is dairy? Okay, a food product made from mammals. They all make milk, okay? So products from cow's milk, we spoke about last time a great deal. Cheese, butter, commonly used in the process, yogurt, cream on foods, it's used in flavoring. So a lot of times when you're eating other foods, you don't know there's dairy in it, and you can have a reaction. You can have diarrhea or narcolepsy or rashes in your body. So incidentally, eggs are not a dairy food, but they also have allergies to them. Yeah, interesting. And egg allergies and milk allergies are a lot alike, but you have to take the history and figure out which one might be doing it. So, but what makes milk so special? Cow's milk, and And if you go back in history, it's 80% water. A cow consumes about 2,000 calories of water a day. What's interesting about milk, which we spoke about last time too, as a baby cow is born, it is immediately injected with a growth hormone. Why is that? Why do farmers do that? So it grows quickly and produces a lot more milk, and they make a lot more money. Then they put it in a cage and pour all kind of hormones over it to further affect its growth rate, and that causes tremendous increase in milk production. They're making a lot more money. Then you give the milk to your kid, but your kid's getting sick because the kid is now consuming the growth hormone and the other hormones, and it's affecting your child. Yes. So there's the protein in milk is about 3 to 4% protein. Remember, I spoke about 80% casein is the name of the protein, and whey is about 20%. But they can cause increased rates of allergic reactions. They can also have increased rates of cancer associated with them. And they are the top allergen sources among the top. Not the top, but close to the top. So if you or someone you know, a family member, is having symptoms in the body, rashes, GI upset, narcolepsy, even a seizure, for example, always consider an allergic reaction. So, and milks can have, because they don't want the cow to get sick, they gave it a lot of antibiotics, and those residues can be in milk. And if you drink milk, you can be allergic to that. In 2001, 6.7 million pounds of milk were dumped in Minnesota due to antibiotic residue in the milk that occurred. So what you're drinking can have other substances in it. The European Union banned use of the growth hormone I spoke about in 1985, the growth hormone that makes the cow grow a lot faster so it can produce more milk. They banned it. Of course, that hormone is in milk, and your child is drinking it, it's going to affect the child. In recent years, many U.S. dairy producers proclaim that their milk is growth hormone free, but you don't always know that. Labels are hard to read, but some would claim it, just like Europe, it doesn't have that in there. So what is pasteurization? You hear about milk being pasteurized, a process of heating milk or other liquids to destroy microorganisms, bacteria and viruses that cause disease. And milk is generally pasteurized, although some people will indeed drink pasteurized free milk, but they can have bacteria or viruses in them, and it can make them sick. So the milk is heated to 145 degrees for 30 minutes, and many other methods of that, and that's well described in this book. So on the dairy farm, unpasteurized milk can be the source of TB, bacteria, diphtheria, salmonella, typhoid, underland fever, listeria, Q fever. So you want to make sure if you're going to drink milk that it is indeed pasteurized, okay? So what is homogenized milk? It really means it's just pretty packaging. Yeah, I'll explain it to you. So natural milk separates the fat from the non-fat part. So keeping skim milk on the bottom and thick layer of cream on the top. So that's homogenation. Okay, homogenized milk has been forced through ultrafine mesh, a mesh at high pressure, to break up the milk fat globules, milk fat globules, dispersing then evenly throughout the milk, creating a unified product. So processing can, but while you're doing this processing, you're destroying vitamins, minerals, and that is not good for the milk and what you're drinking. So is raw milk a good alternative? 30 states have legalized raw milk, but it's still banned at the federal level. Okay, I wouldn't drink it raw. U.S. Department of Health strongly condemns raw milk because of the bacteria and viruses that could be in it. Kind of interesting, the history of milk. So the lactose-free milk, remember it's the sugar in milk, that's lactose, but some of us don't have the lactase to get rid of the lactose. And there are people in the world, like Asians, who don't drink any milk. Japanese don't drink any milk because they don't make the lactase to get rid of the lactose. They have a reaction to it. So yeah, Asian countries, China, they don't drink milk because of that. And but you notice they still, it can be very healthy. So milk is not something of another mammal that you have to drink. Incidentally, if one mammal drinks the milk of another mammal, okay, they all die. They all die. You get a rabbit and a cat and you drink other milk, they will die. It's just us humans survive part of it, but we have reactions, we have allergies, we have intolerances, we have many illnesses. So lactose-free milk should only be considered by lactose intolerant people. If they just have to drink milk, it is available, and they make it. They will make it and manufacture it that you can have lactose-free milk. You could have plant milk that has no lactose in it, for example. Goat's milk is closer in composition to human milk than cow's milk. But it's not recommended to people with allergies, and it's unpredictable, so I wouldn't bother with it. Sheep milk, has lots of questions about allergies, so it's used a little bit more in Europe, but I would not recommend drinking it. Camel's milk from the Middle East, 80% is tolerated, so it's closer to human milk. Why should we live dairy-free? Okay, 20 years ago, dairy-free was considered a radical concept. Many years ago, we got to drink milk. In 2015, dairy alternative sector topped 2 billion. So there were people who don't drink milk. I don't drink milk. I have coffee and water in the morning, and I just don't want to get. I don't think I was necessarily allergic to the milk. I think I was sensitive to the milk because I didn't develop GI symptoms or anything. I just had a terrible acne. That was enough. That was enough. So what's the most common reason not to drink milk? Milk allergies, and the allergies are hidden. They can be many different things. They can be migraine headaches. They can be rashes. They can be eczema. They can be GI upset. They can be narcolepsy. I could go on and on. And so milk allergies. Dairy milk has in it 25 molecules that the potential for an allergic reaction. Yes. Milk has in it 25 molecules for potential for allergic reaction. And part of those molecules were induced by industry to produce the milk that you're drinking. Yes, the hormones they added the day the calf is born, and things they showered while the cow was in the cage. A cow generally lived, they live generally about 25 years. But cows today, in these facilities, they live about 5 years. Mm-hmm. That they are milked so hard, they're put in milk factories where there may be 1,000 cows in a row, and they add things so they produce more milk. Yes. One of the top allergies in the world is milk. Allergic milk is on the list, but not the top one. So milk is in it, IGF-1, and you can test for it with a skin test. Was considered the only test needed, but now we know you can have delayed reactions. So just a skin test and see what the reaction was in minutes. It doesn't work. They can be delayed for days. And shades of gray were being missed. IGF related or delayed produce, so it could be delayed reactions. The body in some are hypersensitive. I think that's what I was, hypersensitive to milk, not allergic to it. So symptoms of allergies can be just watery eyes. Yeah, can just be watery eyes. And but milk can also cause anaphylaxis. Could kill you right there. It can happen, and it has happened. And casein and whey, remember the ones I said are the proteins in milk, are the biggest offender. The casein is the curd when milk is left to sour. It raises to the top. That's the casein and the whey, the curd on top. Whey is the watery part. But you can also be allergic to it. And it can take a few days before it's apparent that you're allergic to it. You drink some milk and, oh, I'm fine. But within a few days, you have the diarrhea or headache or narcolepsy or a skin rash. Atopic dermatitis is also a reaction. Eczema, more common in children. And it can occur at any age, but reactions to children, very young children, can be common. The protein that is in milk can cause colitis syndrome in babies, can have upset stomach, primarily in infants. Milk and soy are the top two offenders. Milk from soy products can cause intolerance. And a lot of the children who react have no lactose. That can be inherited. There are some children where it's in the whole family, they have no lactose. But remember what I mentioned about the Asian people, where it's more common. How many people have milk allergies? 2 to 5%. They ran studies in Europe and found a 2 to 5%. Milk allergy, what are the symptoms? The skin we talked about can have a red rash, can be itchy, can be dermatitis, eczema, hives, urticaria, itching, remember I said acne, digestive symptoms, pain, cramps, reflux, and especially in babies, can be colic, bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, fat malabsorption. Remember I said the symptoms can be so variable if you're giving milk to the children. They can be respiratory symptoms, swelling of the lips, tingling in the mouth or throat, coughing, wheezing after drinking milk, and other waking at night all the time, failure to thrive can be a milk problem. So you have to be open mind. That's the reason I'm doing these two shows, so that you have a lot of information to work from. But you can do sometimes you just can't figure it out, and you run a test by not consuming it. You do that for 2 or 3 months and find out, just like my yoga instructor, all the symptoms that her children were having, their ear infections, their rashes, their upset stomachs, everything cleared away by not drinking milk. That's a way to test for it. And they have skin tests where you prick the skin and inject a milk product and see. You find out that way. Suppose you do have an allergy. The FDA has not approved any method yet to get rid of milk allergies. They've not approved any method. So if you have lactose intolerance, remember, you don't tolerate the sugar, the lactase that metabolizes the lactose, that occurs at the distal end of the ileum. So if that is your problem, and you're drinking milk and you're waking, and you ate at 6, and the time that food works its way to the ileum, it may be 10 or 11, you may wake up middle of the night with a very upset stomach. Put lactose intolerance on the list. So lactose intolerance before milk reaches the colon, it can cause symptoms even before that, even when it's just in your mouth. You can develop symptoms along the way. Today, about 6 to 24% of Caucasians are lactose intolerant. About 50% of Mexicans, 70% of African Americans. Remember, Columbus brought milk over here. It didn't have milk before that time. It came from Africa. The Asians, remember I mentioned Japan, China, about 90% have lactose intolerance. And the lowest rate of lactose intolerance is in Europeans. So children generally run a low rate. In the world, about 65% of the people have some lactose intolerance, maybe just minor, maybe major. Many don't know it. So lactose intolerance is not a disease. It's not a disease. It's something that's developed really through evolution. Many years ago, people could not drink milk year-round because of the weather, and there were no animals to produce milk, and they didn't have it. So there have been genetic changes. So the lactose intolerance test in dairy foods and autism is considered syndrome, not all cases, but some cases, may be related to milk intolerance. So if you have a child with autistic symptoms, put it on the list and stop giving them milk and see what happens. And so we hear about the paleo diet. What's that? In 1980, Lauren Cordain, a dietary research fellow, evolved into a type of eating. He called it Paleolithic, and he's going back in time, like I was mentioning before, and his way of teaching has caught on lately, and so they're focusing on eating grass-fed meats, seafood, eggs, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, a healthy way of eating, flax seeds, walnuts, macadamia nuts, avocado, and he banished foods that milk derived from milk and dairy, okay, and refined sugar and potatoes and refined oils. And a student of Cordain said, dairy-free, gluten-free, these are three of the most important products to avoid getting sick. Interesting. So in weight loss, in 2007, the dairy industry was advertising, and that said you could drink a lot of milk and lose weight, okay? But they lost some of the most important footing when the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, the PCRM, petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to shut down the infamous milk weight loss campaigns. They were saying drink milk and lose weight. That wasn't true, so the PCRM took them up on it, and their general counsel said milk and cheese are now likely to pack on pounds, and that helped people slim down. And the FTC agreed and took that recommendation away. But was the PCRM correct in this? You wonder, it could have been that the sugar in milk was doing it. So calves grow to around 500 pounds quickly, okay? Quickly, because the hormones they secrete, but we give them growth hormones and they grow even faster. So how to lose 36 pounds a year? The average consumption of cheese rose from 7.5 pounds a year we were consuming in 1950, 36 pounds. And a lot of cheese is in prepared foods that you buy. Look at the label. It's hard to find it on the label. So pasta, bagels, packaged snack foods, a lot of them have milk products in them, and there's a real danger to you if you're allergic to them. So dairy affects diabetes, obesity, and women who avoided milk had 50% less diabetes. Children, milk consumption, what if they drank soda pop instead? That'd be sugar. They might gain more weight. So it can be complex. You got to gather information, okay? Drinking milk increases ovarian cancer. Mm-hmm. That may be a good reason not to consume it. Large studies have found dairy consumption with a high link to ovarian cancer. Yeah, that's pretty good reason not to consume milk, and I encourage a woman to buy these two books and read it. It may save your life. Milk, yogurt, cheese increase cancer risk. see, a lot of cheese products are in yogurt is a cheese product, okay? So one study of 80,000 women who had increased servings of fat from milk had 32% chance of developing ovarian cancer. So I think that the proof is here. The proof is here. Another study confirmed it, and then another study showed the real problem people were gaining weight from drinking milk was galactose, the real problem, the sugar. Mm-hmm. Science changes. You have to gather information like I do. Look at my other YouTube shows. And also increased prostate cancer are related to the dairy world because of growth hormone, which is in milk. So there's increased IGF-1 insulin-like growth factors as seen in milk drinkers. Mm-hmm. High levels of IGF-1 have been directly linked to various hormonal cancers. That's a good reason not to drink milk. Harvard study in 2001 studied 20,000 males and concluded consuming 600 milligrams of daily calcium from milk increased risk of prostate cancer 32%. Wow. I think we've just reviewed 2 reasons for men and women not to be milk consumers. I don't consume any milk. I drink coffee and water in the morning. I don't miss milk at all, okay? So a cohort study in 2005, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that men with high dietary intake of dairy foods were 2.5 times more likely to develop prostate cancer. Another study that proves it. June 2008 report in the British Journal of Cancer used the European data. That's a lot of data. And that was available to them and studied the protein in milk and found also strong relations to cancer. Acne, remember I spoke about acne? The girls wouldn't give me a kiss, okay? Pretty important. Nurses Health study 48,000 males and females correlated acne with milk. I knew that already. It happened to me. And so the hormones in milk, not the fat, and the hormones of progesterone and other hormones that trigger the whole story. And so headaches and migraines can be related to being a milk drinker. And I remembered my piano teacher, a very famous piano teacher in town. Used to be my teacher. She doesn't, now she's with an orchestra. But she was complaining to me constantly. She had migraines 20 days out of 30. Could you imagine that? And she came up to me after one of her concerts, so she saw me in the audience, said, Dr. Kachmann, gave me a big kiss on the cheek and said, I'm forever grateful. Said, why is that? She told me about that milk might cause my migraine headaches. Not only did they discover that I had migraines, they also discovered that she was early diabetic. So I avoided her migraines and her diabetes. Yes. I'm forever grateful and grateful for their lessons because I still play piano, not great, and but I tap dance. Mm-hmm. So, incidentally, I meant to tell you today, every day I take vitamin M. What's vitamin M? Music! I want you to take some vitamin M every day. Sing a song. Baby, it's cold outside. And happiness is healing, no matter what the problem that you got, okay? And so, irritable bowel syndrome, as we already mentioned, can be a reaction to drinking milk. And dairy is a big offender, but it can also cause constipation, diarrhea, both are seen. So dairy can be a big offender in many GI conditions. The fat content has been cited as the offender, but it's more likely it's lactose intolerance, the sugar in milk. That's much more likely. And so irritable bowel syndrome, about 25% of those that have irritable bowel is lactose intolerance, actually, okay? New and successful treatment for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. They follow certain type diets, food map diets, it's on the internet. Inflammatory bowel disease is a different disease, and not IBS, and is more serious. Some people have much more serious bowel disease. And this is an interesting one because I've seen a few patients and work with them, but I was onto them. They had Parkinson's disease. You can have the quiet type, you can have the shaking type, and more common males and females, but it can be related to milk consumption or milk product consumption. The other thing, people with Parkinson's disease, it can be related to sugar consumption. Yes. And if I were them, I'd switch to the keto way of eating, Keto, which you can watch one of my videos on that YouTube, Rudy Kachmann, the keto way, and you would learn about that. So, and in the Parkinson's disease, they have found that milk consumption, sugar consumption, probably 70-80% of the reason why they have Parkinson's disease. Isn't that interesting? What's interesting about it is it can be prevented and stopped, reversed some. Advanced cases, probably not much effect. But remember I talked about narcolepsy, where you're just watching television and there's five of you watching a ball game and somebody in there falling asleep. And many times the cause can be that they're a dairy consumer. And so that's consuming a lot of milk, give us strong bones, because there's calcium in them. But the Harvard study found that women who consume greater amounts of calcium from dairy foods had a significant increased risk of hip fracture. Studies prove that. Mm-hmm. So to avoid fractures, have strong bones, it is not necessarily the consumption of milk that will solve the problem. And it's a risk from other calcium sources. Dairy products could actually be a cause of hip fractures from osteoporosis. Drinking too much milk, people have an increased osteoporosis and hip fracture rate. Been scientifically proven. Wow, that's worrisome. And there was a huge study of 34 published studies in 16 different countries by Yale University, and found the ones who were the highest rate of osteoporosis included U.S., England, Sweden, Finland. They were also the highest in rates of dairy consumption. Mm-hmm. I think you're starting to get the picture. I'm so glad we did these two shows. So how is this possible? Milk is one of our major four food groups, but the tides are turning on osteoporosis. More information is getting out there. Many renowned researchers are changing their opinions, okay? They're switching more to plant-based foods, to vegetables. Surprising secrets from strong bones. Let's look at the strong bones. What are their secrets? Number one, exercise is a wonderful thing. That builds strong bones. Keep a balanced diet is important, okay? Magnesium, because it takes, to have strong bones, to take magnesium, potassium, iron, zinc, copper, sodium, vitamin D, vitamin K. They all play a vital role in calcium absorption. So it's just milk is not going to prevent the problem nor solve the problem, okay? So eat a variety of fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, crucifers, beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains. You want your vitamin and mineral from food, not just supplements, okay? And so to look at a website, here's another one, whfoods.com is a good resource for more information. So absorb some vitamin D for healthy bones. Go outside, okay? Drink alcohol in moderation, it says in these books. I say don't drink any alcohol at all. Then now thinking even a glass or two of wine a week can have harmful effects. I'm not sure of that. So some studies now say 0 alcohol. And so hide the salt shaker. Plenty of salt in foods that you're eating. Mm-hmm. And don't smoke. We all know the harm of smoke. A few people I do know that do smoke, not very healthy. They don't look healthy. Their skin doesn't look healthy. They look 10 years older. And what are some super bone foods? Let's look at those. Citrus, orange juice. Although I would say this, eat the orange, not just the juice, because the juice is full of sugar. So you got to look at both sides here a little bit. Lemons are really the superfood here for good health. Eat a lemon a day, keep the doctor away. So how much calcium do I really need? And it's in these books, but I look at it a little bit. I mean, age 0 to 6 months, about 200 milligrams, so very little. If you're pregnant, about 1,000 milligrams, and if you're pregnant and lactose intolerant, about 1,300, and age 51 to 70, about 100 milligrams. My age, 71 plus, about 1,200. Incidentally, 2 weeks ago, I had my birthday. 89 years old, on no pills, no injury, play pickleball, tap dance, take vitamin M in the mornings. Was I always this way? No, but I'm learning and I change it currently. One person doesn't prove anything. Well, but then again, maybe it does. Maybe it does. At age 89, I try to wear bright clothes, and I notice girls still smile at me. So getting older is not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I'm having a ball. 133 pounds today. You know, I weigh myself just to keep track of health. Incidentally, too, I normally have on a wristwatch. It broke the other day, so I'm fixing it. It's a smart watch, very accurate, $66. And I hit a button. It tells me what my blood sugar is. I don't need to trace mine, but I wanted to, because people that are diabetic and eating better and they're losing weight, they may be on medication, so I want them to know what their level of the blood sugar is. That what tells you that you can buy one of these monitors here and have it on your shoulder, but they cost $200 a year. Some people can't afford that. I think you can trust some of these smart watches. Yeah, I use it for a year. And every time I have a meal, I check it. An hour or two later, I check it. I don't need to check mine, but I did it to how trustable is this watch. I think it appears to be true. I'm sure better ones are even coming out shortly. Matter of months. So I think within 6 months, I want you to have a smart watch. Keep track of your health a little bit. And so in this book, which I have up here, they have listed their dairy-free meals and charts, and it's so complex, I can't bring it all up in this talk I have with you today. But I want you to look at it. There are recipes in there on what to eat on page 51. And like I said, you can get a PDF for different ways. So how to become calcium fortified. You may find calcium in waffles, energy bars, dairy-free yogurts, crackers. If you choose to reach the fortified foods, some they add calcium, so they're fortified. So some almond milk, coconut, rice can give you the same amount as a 8-ounce glass of skim milk. So infants in childhood milk allergies are not uncommon. You have to recognize them as an infant. And they have food allergies, about 2 to 5%. And 1 in 20 has digestive problems. They may have respiratory problems. They may have skin problems. So keep it in mind. Mother's milk is very healthy. So to keep them drinking mother's milk is as long as you can. A lot of times they stop after a few months. It's best that they consume mother's milk has the right proportions of proteins, carbohydrates, and fat in them. So unfortunately, milk allergy may be difficult to recognize in children. Lots of symptoms may circle milk allergy, but I'll mention some of those to you. Diarrhea, vomiting, skin rashes, extreme fussiness, respiratory problems, failure to thrive, recurrent ear infections. Remember I told the symptoms of the yoga instructor, that's very common. Food allergy symptoms may be delayed, could be multiple allergies, could be allergic symptoms to many different things, and the symptoms change with age. It changes with age, so it can be difficult. You have to be going to have a lot of knowledge yourself, or go to a provider that has a lot of knowledge. Some pediatricians would be very good at that, and others not. They may not be running the right test. Is your child a diabetic? Are they getting a serum insulin test? I mean, I don't even know that you could detect diabetes at age 3 or 4 by getting a serum insulin test. Mm-hmm. They'll wait for years before the blood sugar ever rises. So let's speak about feeding options here a little bit. Breastfeeding we spoke about. The benefit, of course, is that the infant is getting the right proportion of chemicals, the minerals, the phosphorus, the magnesium in the milk from the mother. The body has it figured out. So infant formulas, things that you give the infant, some of that is fortified milk. They add things to it that probably the infant might need. And a lot of those are approved by the FDA. But you have to buy the product. It can't be duplicated in the home because you may be incorrect. And remember, a child's reaction to the milk may change as they're growing up. And so after 1 year, it may have outgrown the allergy, but they have to be observed closely because you may misinterpret that, okay? So then you switch to solid foods, fresh, ripe, peeled. Fruits probably is safe. Peeled, soft, cooked, cubed, mashed or starchy vegetables, soft cooked grains, cooked proteins, soy. We are one of the largest soy product producer in the world, and some people don't tolerate it. So that can be a problem for some children. So, but prioritize olives, coconut, avocados in cooking and baking, and keep diet well diversified. And soy allergies are not as common as milk, but there are a lot of avocados. One medium-sized avocado has 30 grams of fat, but good fat, omega-3 fat, so avocados are maybe more healthy. And so in summary, I'm trying to educate you. This is just the beginning, but I would like you to look at the original show again or read the book, The Whitewash. Remember I mentioned this by Joe Keon, a very good book. I'd like you to add to it this great book, Go Dairy Free by Lisa Fleming, and look at her website. She has excellent recipes. About half the book is recipes. Have a look at those. And I know you can afford to get a used copy, go to the library, look at the website or the PDF. You need to be informed. And this will also go to YouTube before that day is out. Thank you, Eugene. And this is just beautiful. And then really, these shows will go all over the world through YouTube. I know other countries using them because they can't afford to take care of all the sick people from who are not tolerating milk. I say lead a life without milk. I don't drink milk. I have coffee and water in the morning. And I go play pickleball. and I ate lunch around 2 o'clock. I ate the keto way. You can also learn more about it by reading a book called Fork in the Road by David Unwin and his wife Jen, Jen. They're from England, UNWIN. Well, there's a piece of information for you. You can see it on my other websites. Anyhow, thanks for listening to the story. I want you to gather more information. See me, give me a hug, and say, Rudy, you need to know this. I'm always trying to learn. And I hope I play against you or with me in pickleball in a couple of days. I do this show because I love you. See you next time. Bye-bye.